Hey YouTube, it's Mark King here, and here's another another one of these stories. This is from the New York Times. The New York Times is just back when you're studying to be a journalist, all you hear about from professors about the New York Times is the gold standard, baby. It's the top of the line. It's something you should desire. It's meaningful to work for. And as a college age kid, you're 18, 19, 20, 20. You're very impressionable. You believe these things. And like especially when you go to like very how they say it, coastal cities, you hear the college professors openly trash certain political right leaning ideology and maybe a right leaning channel, right? So the point is, when you grow up, you learn to think for yourself. Like even like some people don't even think until they're like, some people never learn to think for themselves. I would say the average person probably starts thinking for themselves after 25. It's just my opinion, based on like growing up and kids I've talked to and my own personal experience. But that's just conjecture by me. But yeah, here we go. Another woman, boy, another woman most affected, many of the ones dying. So this article, essentially, and I'm glad that like women tend to go in professional professions that matches their nature. Women are usually caretakers. It makes them happiest. The quote unquote gender roles. But this person's upset that typical gender roles influence women where they go into nursing and the medical field, and now they're in the front line of something that may severely impede on them. Even though men usually typically take the job that has the higher death rate, but strike shows these people at the New York Times. Let me see who wrote this article. Alicia Hardesani Guapta. She looks like the type, slightly unattractive. So she picks her political stance probably based on her attractiveness level. You ever seen those studies where it's like they talk about who's attractive, which a political affiliation is usually like the people who tend to lean right. Usually they have the prettier woman, the how do I say it's the more manly. If you want to say better looking man, sure, but I can't look at the man and think he's good looking. I just don't. I'm a guy. I've never looked at the man and said, "Oh, this guy is gorgeous." Never happened to me, not once. Maybe it's like my brain is so manly. That's really it. But yeah, anyway, so this is another one of those how woman, poor woman, even though men die more, but it's poor woman, like, because almost, let's just go ahead. Around the world, women make up a majority of the healthcare workers, almost 70% according to some estimates, and most of them occupy nursing roles. Usually when men are, by the way, usually when men are like in the medical field, they usually like higher end stuff, so that is the more technical work. Probably has to do with, I'm guessing, mathematical skills. Has something to do with that. The logic lobes. I'm not sure about that one, but usually, like, again, the easiest thing to say is like men tend to go to the top end of everything. Half go to the top, half go to the bottom. Essentially, well, more go to the bottom, and a few go to the top. But essentially, that's it. Women are upset that they stay in the middle, even though for the past 50 years, education and everything has been skewed towards them. The best they can do is in the middle. Think about that. Imagine if all that money was actually spent on boys and men. Those men at the bottom, they might actually be at the top or even get more towards the middle. At least that's what I believe. But how do you address something like that? Beats me. So let's continue occupying nursing roles on the front lines of efforts to combat and contain the outbreak of disease. Here comes the pound in the back, I think, in China's Hubei province, where the current coronavirus outbreak originates. But 90% of healthcare workers are women. In the U.S., it's 78%. So what do they want? Women to not be in nursing? Women to give their jobs up to men? Great, I mean, I don't understand the logic of this thinking. Not just this article. These people think this way. Like, what are you trying to say? When times get hard, women have to go into the back. Like, again, like even though there's all these laws on women in the army, what's going to happen when war really does break out? All of a sudden, magically, the army will uh, like there won't even be a discussion. All the women will pretty much be eliminated from the army. They're going to be cooks, and they'll smile while doing it. And everybody knows this. Everybody with a brain knows exactly what's going to happen. Women aren't going to the front line. We all know it. Women will somehow, like, the stat is about 93%. I'm trying to think of women get pregnant when war breaks out in the army. So if there's a woman army, 93% of them magically get pregnant. All to avoid war. They want the benefits of the men who go to the men who are in the army, but none of the how do I say it? What's the proper word? None of the same ability is wrong word. None of the same not ability. None of the same responsibility. That's the best way I can say it. They don't want the same responsibility, and this is throughout history. This is why a man will be blamed for somehow you'll see articles. A man will be blamed for the outbreak somehow, even though men are the one who don't want communism. It's the women who vote for the communists. They always will, because they see it free. They don't understand people have to pay for free. Anyway, let's continue. Has more shellacking for men. Women around the world also more likely to take the burden of care home, particularly if someone in their family is sick. This is grounded. This is the medical grounder. Okay, Celine Grounder. Yeah. So as you can see, what is it now? It's women get more responsibility when people are sick, and because women still bear the most responsibility of child rearing when schools are suspended, that risks may compound. Okay, so again, men take the more risky jobs. I'm sure many men would much rather stay home in the safety of the homes, watch over kids, right, than be out there risking their lives. These people are so illogical. You know, they're not even, I don't know if they're illogical or they're that devious. That's what I'm wondering. I think they say things and they don't have the ability to logically understand what they're actually saying. This is what I truly believe when I read a lot of these articles, specifically by women, but you also see those effeminate males write it also. But she used the example of the Ebola virus in Africa because the women are traditionally the primary caregivers and are responsible for preparing bodies for burial. Oh, because all the men have died, so women were affected once again. Their vulnerability to okay, because all the men have died, all of a sudden the disease now going to target the woman. This is the logic here. The transmission rate was higher in households than hospitals, and though there is no evidence of biological gender gap when it comes to the vulnerability of Ebola, more cases were recorded among women than men during the 2014 outbreak. So pregnant women are faced with a whole different set of challenges, especially the stress of not knowing exactly how C19 might affect their child. All right, we get the point of this article. It's women more affected because men have all died or men have been suffering, and women choose to go into the medical field, and women traditionally take care of kids, and that's problematic. So you shouldn't have kids, yada yada yada, and all these people are gonna be set for unhappy life, and you'll see this in about 20 years, and you see articles currently about why. Oh yeah, you see this article spun like it's spun like marriage rates have dropped, and it's not because women have been corrupted by a certain agenda. It's because men are losers. You see these titles, articles, and you cannot believe it. I think other people have covered men are losers before, so leave that alone. All right, guys. I hope you like. I'll post the story in the description. If you want to check it out yourself, go right ahead. But you heard one, you heard them all. All right, guys. Take care, and remember, they're most affected while you die. Bye. Be safe.